How much value did the Southeast Division get in the NBA draft? Welcome in or welcome back. There were some confusing picks. There were some really inspiring picks. Let's talk about it. Let's start up top with the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks have had a very interesting offseason so far, and I think it really started with the draft. They originally had the 13th pick, but they traded back with the New Orleans Pelicans while also picking up an unprotected 2026 first-round pick. And honestly, I still feel like they got their guy that they wanted at 13, and he was still available at 23 in Asa Newell. It's pretty easy to see why the Atlanta Hawks wanted him. His 1 year at Georgia, he averaged 15, 7, and 2 stocks a game. And this seems to be the case for all rookies this year. They're not great three-point shooters, but for him, from the floor, 54%. And especially with the way the Hawks want to play basketball with this heliocentric offense in Trae Young, that is a perfect fit next to him. Asa Newell, in my view, is a less athletic Aaron Gordon, and he is going to live in the dunker spot. Now, I will say that I think he has an uphill battle a little bit as far as the depth chart goes. There is Kristaps Porzingis, and there is Jalen Johnson, and there's Nneka Okongwu. I think that there is an opportunity for him to play, and in the minutes that he does play, Trae Young is going to give him a lot of looks. He is going to be Trae Young's favorite target. I really couldn't be more complimentary than I already am about the Atlanta Hawks and what they did in this draft. You got a good one at 23, and you got more draft assets for the future. Impeccable draft. The Charlotte Hornets were very busy. At number 4, we got Con Knipple, 29, Liam McNeely, 33, Sion James, and number 34, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Now, coming into this draft, I thought that Con Knipple was going to be a very highly touted prospect, but even me, a fan of Con, thought that 4 was very high. But again, I do see why he was drafted that high. Averaged 15, averaged a steal a game, shot 40% from 3. And more importantly than that, he seems like the perfect ancillary piece next to LaMelo Ball if you were going to continue down that road. We kind of saw it when Cooper Flagg was out at the end of the ACC tournament and the first couple games of the NCAA tournament. Con knows that when it is his time to shine, he can get his shots off and get other people involved. And when it's not his time to shine, he knows his role. He will shoot when he's open. He will find other people when he's not. He's a great role player. Liam McNeely, in that same vein, is also a very good role player, comes from a winning program, and does what he does without overstepping his bounds. Last year, UConn averaged 14 and 6, and his defense isn't great. I don't think he's a great individual Kawhi Leonard type defender, but I think he's a pretty decent team defender. And he is certainly not the shooter that Con Knipple is. He shot 31.7% from 3 last year, but I think his mechanics are fine, so I think that number will increase. I'm not sure what kind of role he could possibly carve out for himself. I think that he has an uphill battle, so I'd have to imagine he spends a lot of time in the Greensboro Swarm. Ultimately, I think that Sion James will also be with him in that position. I think that he has the intangibles to be a good basketball player, but I just don't see it from the game tape. Now, he's a 5-year guy, so he slipped into the second round, but his last year at Duke, he only averaged 8 and 4, and I just don't think that that's going to get it done at this level. A lot of people will say, oh, well, he shot 41% from 3, and I agree, but it only had 2 attempts a game, so that isn't a whole lot of game tape for me to go off of. Now, with the 34th pick, I think it was pretty interesting because prior to the draft, the Hornets had 0 centers on their roster because they traded away Mark Williams. Now, of course, with free agency, they did pick up Mason Plumlee on a 1-year deal, so it's going to be interesting to see who starts between him and Ryan Kalkbrenner. Ryan's got deficiencies just like every other player in this draft, but if you are a Charlotte Hornets fan, are expecting the Zach Edey treatment for him. Ryan was a 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, so you want him to come in and dominate and protect the rim at all costs. Ultimately, I think Ryan's baseline is pretty good. I think the worst that he will ever be is a career backup center, and if that's all you get out of him, that's a pretty good draft pick. Number 20, the Miami Heat picked up Kasper Shakachonis out of Illinois, and that's probably the most intriguing single draft pick for me in the entire draft. Because coming into this draft, he was touted as a top 5, top 7 talent in this entire draft, and the fact that he fell all the way to 20 raises some questions for me, but if anyone is going to squash those concerns, it's the Miami Heat and Heat culture. And I think they really nailed the pick. His 1 year at Illinois, he averaged 15, 5, and 5 with a steal a game. Not very efficient, mind you, but all the tools are there. He very much seems like the do-it-all point guard that every single team needs, and believe me, out of all the teams that needed one, Miami needed one the worst because they absolutely do not have that guy. Now, I love Davion Mitchell, but he's not this do-it-all point guard. He's just a defensive menace. Duncan Robinson is on the move now. He's heading to Detroit. I don't see a scenario where Terry Rozier plays a whole lot of minutes now because they're trying to get him out of the way too. So they truly needed a point guard. Not to mention the fact that project point guard for Tyler Hero really never got off the ground. I am interested to see if they will give him the keys immediately. If it were me, I would, but we'll have to see how that plays out. A lot of people thought that the Orlando Magic had a head scratcher of a draft, but I liked it. At 25, they picked up Jace Richardson out of Michigan State, and at number 32, they picked up Noah Penda from France. And while I understand that being a 6'1", quote-unquote defensive liability guard in today's NBA could be very, very agonizing for a team to employ that kind of player, I feel like if you were ever going to draft that kind of guard, if you were ever going to bring in that kind of guard, this Orlando Magic team will be able to hide his defensive deficiencies the best. I mean, just think about it. You now have an opportunity to play alongside guys like Paolo and Franz and Wendell Carter Jr. and Jalen Suggs. Like, that team understands defensive identity, and if there is a weak link in their chain, they will be able to protect it. What he lacks in defense and height, he makes up for in three-point percentage. He shot 41% from three last year, albeit on about 3 attempts a game, but because he's going to play such a vital role for this Magic offense, I'd have to imagine those numbers shoot up. And honestly, I like the pick for Noah Penda too. I don't see a whole lot of big upside for him. I don't think that he's going to be an all-NBA type of guy, but he is that gritty defender, that gritty connector on your team that you need. He's the guy that will go make hustle plays for you. And lastly, we have the Washington Wizards. I don't think that they necessarily had the best draft in the entire league, but I think that they added to their already good core as good as anybody else did. Now, I think the Wizards already have a very bright future with the guys like Alex Sarr and Keontae George and Bub Carrington and Bilal Coulibaly. I think they have such a good future that it's only a benefit for them that they are able to add someone as good as Trey Johnson to their team. Trey Johnson had an incredible 1 year at Texas, averaging 19 points and shot 39% from three. Now, he doesn't do a ton else, doesn't play a lot of defense, doesn't swing the rock, doesn't rebound very well, but I think because of everybody else on the Wizards team, he can just go out and hoop. And I very much see a scenario where him and Bub Carrington are the backcourt of the future for the Washington Wizards. Now, I wish I could say as many good things about Will Riley as I did Trey Johnson. I just don't see it. This seems to me more of a potential draft rather than a concrete this is what I see draft. Because Will Riley's 1 year at Illinois, he averaged about 13 points. I'm going to round up for him. And he also didn't do much, but shot very, very inefficiently. 43% from the floor and 32 from three. But again, I understand why you would draft someone like that. 6'8", really good wingspan, the intangibles, the measurements are there. I understand why you would do that. Thankfully, for the first time in a very long time for the Wizards, you have such a good core that you won't have to worry about messing up a pick like this if it doesn't pan out. And for Jameer Watkins, it's kind of the similar situation, although I do believe in him more potentially. He was technically a 5-year guy, only played 4 years in college, but his last year at Florida State averaged 18, a steal and a half a game, and let's call it decent efficiency from the floor. Not great, but okay. Now, I certainly don't think that he would be an all-star or anything like that. I think that he could probably cap out as a very serviceable role player. We'll have to see, but I do know that he will get a ton of reps in the G League. I think all of them are going to have to fight for minutes at some point or another. There is so much talent on this roster already, not to mention the fact that you brought in guys like Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton and now CJ McCollum. You want to give them reps as well, even though their primary objective is to mold the future. But for the first time in a very long time, the Wizards have a bright future, and you should congratulate yourself. But that's it for the Southeast Division. Who do you think has the opportunity to be the best player from this division? Let me know down in the comments. While you're down there, be sure to check my link tree. I have links for everything: Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. I'm everywhere if you want to connect with me. We've got one more with the Atlantic Division tomorrow. Be sure that you are here to watch that one. Be kind, tell somebody you love them, and I'll see you in the next one.